Welcome back to another Payday Parlays podcast. This is your hosts, Zane, alongside with Matt Hart. We're going to talk NBA playoffs. We're going to cover the cup that is named Stanley for NHL. We have soccer news, Champions League final, U.S. men's national team. There is a lot to cover. People say right now it's a slow period for sports. I disagree. We got Aaron Rodgers drama still ensuing. That saga continues. Julio Jones and Fox Sports 1 in legal trouble. There's quite a bit to talk about today. All tied in with, of course, building our community, making a little green. Matt, let's lead off with what was going on tonight. Hockey playoffs, NBA talk, and how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to also say we did record another episode, but I couldn't download the audio from it because if anyone remembers our draft episode, which ended up being 3 hours long, it took up all the space on my computer, and I didn't really realize until I'm trying to download another file on them. So that was a mess. But other than that, I've been pretty good. Been really busy. What about you, Zan?
Dude, likewise. It's event season for me, for work and whatnot. So it's been pretty electric going out to Charlotte this weekend to work for Charlotte Motor Speedway and the Coca-Cola 600, which is epic race. One of my favorite races of the year. It was my first ever NASCAR experience as a kid going to that event. So I'm looking forward to going back and working that this weekend. But yeah, it's been busy. It's been really busy. It's been hard to keep tabs and really be detailed on the sports front right now. But we're making do. We're making do.
You did have a good call tonight. Just looking at it, where people need to be following, making sure you're following both of us, but especially Zane right now. At Zane, all lowercase, then capital G, so Zane G with a capital G, _10 on Twitter. You told everyone that they needed to take the Minnesota Wild plus 134 money line, and then plus 290 on the 60-minute line heading into the third. They finished up 3-0. What a good call that was.
That was fun. I know you've been all into NBA playoffs right now. All your eyes are on that. I have been our NHL coverage analyst so far for the playoffs and leading up to the playoffs for NHL. That is where the majority of my downtime in the evenings has been spent, is having NHL playoffs on the TV. And had that game on. I watched a good chunk of the Pens game, Islanders game. Flipped it over and caught the last, let's say, half of a period and a half of the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay. Ended up being a blowout, unfortunately, for our sneaky Panthers. Their season is done.
Sneaky no more.
No, yeah, unfortunately. But they had a good run. They made us some money this year for sure throughout the regular season. And then as that one wrapped up, flipped it over and caught the good chunk of the second period for Vegas and Minnesota. Defensive battle. Opportunities were far and few in between. I think by the end of the second, each team was sitting around like 12 shots and 14 shots on the stat lines. But Minnesota just looked a little bit more dangerous, in my opinion. Just kind of watching the game, they looked like they were going to kind of have a breakthrough more so, and momentum was shifting. And they needed a win to force a Game 7. So, I just looked at the lines, was like, I really like this play. I like the 60-minute line, but I went ahead and took the money line to play it safe since there have been so many overtime games for the playoffs this year. I think so far 14, I think, is the number of overtime games so far in the playoffs for hockey. That's an insane number. And this one potentially could have been heading to that being 0-0, but Minnesota, they rallied. I think when we logged on to kind of talk before, it was 1-0, and then a power play goal put them up 2-0, and then they capped it off easily with 3. So took the 60-minute line bet, a hit, sprinkled a little bit on that, and then took the money line. So that was a great play for the evening. That was really my only bet of the day too. I didn't really have much time to dig into baseball or anything too much tonight. So that was really my only play of the evening.
Yeah, well, while we're talking about the Knights and the Wild, what are you thinking for Game 7 heading back to Vegas? You leaning Golden Knights since they're home, or
I am, and Fleury, the goalie for the Golden Knights, he's so solid, so solid. That'll be a spectacle at Vegas. Chance for them to get a closeout on their playoff series on home ice. So I do think even though Minnesota has fought back and made it a series, Golden Knights should still advance. But once again, maybe a situation where I'm watching the game and keeping an eye on it and feel a little bit different midway through. Maybe have to do another live bet. We'll see. See what happens.
and then I'm also looking at the NHL, just looking at all the different scores. Were you surprised at all that the Penguins didn't advance? Or
I was. Yeah, they were really
I was
strong.
leaning for them as well.
Yeah, they were really strong. There was a super boost out when that series started that Pens would win the series. It was boosted odds there. Took it and fell through. I don't know about you, Matt, but lately the odds boosts that have been thrown out there, I just have not had very good luck. Dating back to that 3x2 boost, that was such a
Controversy.
controversial play by FanDuel there.
They finally did right though in the end.
Partially.
I thought that they considered it a win.
They did, but they only counted the win as account credits, so you couldn't cash that money out if you wanted to.
Oh, that's BS.
Yeah. So they posted upon further review, we've decided this counts, blah blah, but they only counted it as a account credit. And for those who don't know, they did 3x2 boosts. I guess it was about a week ago or so, and for one of the games, the shot went up at like 9:02, was out of the guy's hand, but the stat line scored it as the three went down at 8:59 instead of 9:00.
That was the official stat.
That was the official stat line was 8:59, but you could see that the ball was completely through the net at 9 exactly on the clock. So that was where the debate fell, and they initially counted it as a loss, and then they went back and it gave you the credit back. So whatever. But since that point on, moral of the story is that I have not had luck with FanDuel Super Boost down the stretch. The ones that I've taken and capped off tonight with the Pens getting beat by the Islanders 5-3.
They know what they're doing, and
we love them though. We keep coming back.
Yeah, I know the Super Boost. I saw all that basketball stuff go down, and I was thinking the same thing. I forgot about the official being 8:59.
Yeah, it was
I didn't
scored.
even remember. That's what it just clicked in my head. I was like, I wonder if that's what they. So in a way, I can kind of see how they defend them. In a way, they probably definitely use a computer generated to get their stats and stuff. They're not actually having somebody watch them. So they're getting their stats live. So they got the 8:59
and scored it that way. Yeah, is what it is. Well, they're tricky because here's the thing: Pens, Islanders, NHL Playoff Series, right? They had the super boost on the Pens to win and boosted it.
Mm-hmm.
They then, before tonight's game, put out a super boost on the Islanders to win the series 4-3. Exact series line, 4-3. So it goes to a game 7, Islanders win. So some folks, I'm sure, took the Pens like I did, and then took and hedged the bet a little bit, thinking, okay, this absolutely can go to a game 7 and Islanders can win. So I'm going to hedge my bet with this boost and then lose both because it doesn't go to a game 7. Islanders win in 6.
They
tricky.
they are very tricky. But looking at the rest of the NHL playoffs, we'll just go ahead. We talked about the sneaky Panthers getting eliminated. Let's go ahead and wrap up that one. Tampa Bay, they look sharp at the right time
They
again.
looked really sharp, but Florida had
Some goalkeeping.
goaltending issues. So I will say I'm not a hockey professional analyst by any means, really just starting to learn and really gain some knowledge about the sport overall and watching it and what to look for. A lot of analysts, a lot of professional guys with a lot more knowledge than me in the sport were calling that Tampa Bay were really a favorite to repeat as champions. So we'll see. But they coming out first round against Florida, they did look sharp. I think Florida could have made a difference if they win that close game in game one of the series and went to overtime. If Florida edges them out there, maybe it's a different story. Maybe a little bit different momentum story there that could carry on. But Tampa Bay Lightning did look good. Boston Bruins really good. The reason we haven't talked about them because they're sitting waiting for their next round. They cleaned up against the Caps.
And then also the Carolina Hurricanes. That was also one of our teams that we said had like some good value to pick to win it all as well.
They go up 2-0. They go up 2-0 against Nashville. Playoff series switches over to Nashville. And Nashville wins their 2 games at home. And then it's now a 3-2 series with Game 6 coming tomorrow night.
Yep, in Nashville.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting. We were talking before the podcast, and so I just wanted to – does home ice have the same advantage since we're going to be moving to the NBA playoffs here in a second as home fans do in basketball?
I think so. I think it absolutely does. Especially because we're still in this. Some areas are still limiting capacity. Some areas are more open. All depends on where you're at, what state you're in. So that's also can play a factor because NHL is not going to step in and be like, okay, to keep an even playing field across the board, we're going to limit each stadium to 10,000 fans or something, Like, no, they're saying go off your CDC recommended local and state guidelines. You can do what you want. So some teams are nearly packing the arenas, and some teams are still only putting 15,000 in there in a stadium that can hold 45. I think the best example of that has been Nashville and the Carolina series of the momentum that Nashville got from going back to Bridgestone Arena and playing at home and getting a home ice advantage and being big underdogs, but tying up the series.
Nice. So would you say, you remember the saying that I said before the thing, a series doesn't start until someone wins on the road. Would you say that's the same for hockey? Or is it a little different?
I think they're very comparable to NBA playoff series as well. I mean, they're still playing. It's best of 7, just like the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it absolutely can be. There can be some crossover, and you can kind of hold those sports and how they operate for playoffs in the same conversation.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I was wondering because I see that it's in Nashville. Every team who's ever been at home has won. So Nashville. If Nashville wants to win this, they're going to have to obviously win on the road. But it just seems like home teams won each one. So I was wondering if it's the same because, like I said, you have been following it a little bit more than me. Moving to the next series.
To give you an update before that, just the odds for tomorrow night's game. Yeah, Nashville plus 128 money line right now as it sits for that as a home team, so a home dog. And like you said, maybe something to consider since it's been each team that's been home is the winner.
Maybe we can get a double super boost. Nashville to win tomorrow, and then Carolina to win in 7.
All right, give me more. Got any more than super boosts out there, FanDuel?
So the Battle of Canada, I guess, Canadians and Maple Leafs.
It's not a battle. Maple Leafs clean. We don't have to talk about that one.
You don't even want to talk about it at all?
Montreal stole the first game, and it's been all Maple Leafs ever since. They'll finish it out tomorrow.
Sounds good. Do you want to swing to the NBA, or did you have anything else you wanted to add to the
No,
NHL?
I'm good, man. Let's do it. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs.
Nice. We want to start with. You can start with my Heat. How they're not my predictions going to win in 5. However, I was saying to Zane, I want to get this out for our listeners as well. Heat in 5 is just me being a cocky Heat fan, and it's a thing on like on Heat Twitter that we do. No matter who you're playing, it's Heat in 5. So that's all that is. It's not necessarily like I initially was kind of sitting like Zane. I think you picked Heat in 7.
I said Heat in 7. I thought this series is going to swing back and forth. And once again, we'll bring up your quote there. A series doesn't start until an away team steals a game.
Yeah,
And we'll see what happens.
yeah. I
Game
think
3. I mean, you said before. You said you feel like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you feel like this is a must-win situation for Game 3.
yeah, it is definitely a must win. I think that no NBA teams ever come back from 0-3, and that's why I know some hockey teams have, and that's why I was wondering if maybe it was a little different with the home ice, because it seems like hockey teams can rip off 4 wins in a row, but where basketball teams, it just seems nearly impossible. But yeah, so Thursday is insanely important. The odds are not in your favor if you go down 0-3. But role players play better at home in the playoffs. I think things should step up. If Bam and Jimmy can give the Heat anything more, and then obviously the Bucks aren't going to shoot, they're not going to make 25 threes again. If they do, tip your hats off to them. Congratulations, that's insane. But I don't see that happening again. So we'll see. Thursday is important, or today.
Do you think the Bucks shooting that high of a percentage, is there any weight to put on Heat defensive play related to that?
A little bit. So the Heat are one of the best teams at keeping teams out of the paint. And so that's kind of how they like to play. They like to play the odds of, hey, you're not going to make enough threes. But the thing about Milwaukee right now is they're doing everything super efficiently, because where they're getting all their points are right at the basket or 3, which I've written an article about before and stuff. Like analytically, that's perfectly what you want to do. And then Chris Middleton is hitting, his mid-range shots and a little bit, sprinkle them in. But it's mainly they're doing their damage from 3 and in the paint. And the Heat last year when they played the Bucks, they had Jay Crowder, who's a thicker defender. This year they're working with Trevor Ariza, and so I think you might see a lineup change Thursday. I think Heat might go bigger and try to. I think the initial thought was they were going to try to play Brook Lopez off the floor, but right now Bam is not playing good enough for them to get Brook Lopez off the floor. And if he's not going to do that, Brook Lopez is sitting in the paint, and Jimmy likes to get to the rim, so things are getting clogged. So I think Heat are just going to have to go big to match up defensively, and then hopefully they can make a little bit of a run. And then when Milwaukee sizes down, the Heat can size down and play how they normally like to play.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That might have been too much in depth, but I think that's what you're looking at for that series right now. So Thursday is a major, major game.
Let's throw in the odds and the spread. Get thoughts there. It looks like as it sits now, by now this is past midnight on going into Thursday now. So Milwaukee's getting the Heat are getting 2 points, so they're +2 as a home.
That's fair.
Hosting. And the money line odds, Miami Heat +108. Milwaukee minus 126. Over-under set at 226.
I would look just as a Heat fan. So this, I would look if that goes over. I'm talking about the over-under. Over, Milwaukee probably won. Under, I think the Heat have a good chance. The Heat really needed to steal game one. That was the game to steal.
Yeah.
And because, Duncan Robinson went 7 of 13 from three. The Heat overall hit 23s. That was the game they needed to steal, but Jimmy and Bam gave you absolutely nothing in game one. And really, they haven't given you anything all series, so that has to change for them.
Jimmy really was the force the overtime though. Game one.
Yeah, but he also shot 4 of 24. And he also took, and did you see how many threes that he took? He took 9 threes.
And then also I was going to add to it the missed, at least the one missed free throw I saw down there.
That would have won the game, actually.
Would have won the game, too. Was kind of noticeable.
It is what it is, but what can you do? But I know there's a team that you want to talk about. Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
I have Lakers in 6. You have Phoenix in 6.
Yeah. And the books have definitely shifted their odds too regarding that series from what it was set originally to after, now that Lakers have stolen a game on the road.
Yep.
For tomorrow night, Phoenix Suns are plus 245 on the money line. Plus 7. They're getting 7 points. Lakers are minus 300. So this game is a game where the value's all on Phoenix.
Yep.
Unless you're confident in the Lakers to cover. Over-under, though, value. Points are set at 210, which is pretty low.
Yeah, I think the biggest shift was when Chris Paul went down in game one. He pulled himself through the rest of that game. And, Phoenix got away with the win. He did not look good in game 2 at all. And game 3, I can't imagine it'll be that much better. How bad it looked.
Do we know the extent of that injury? Phoenix has been pretty quiet about it.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it under.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see. How are you feeling about your Phoenix in 6, though?
I actually still feel okay about it. I think as long as they steal a game on the road to at least leave LA with the series tied, I'm okay with that. I still think Phoenix in 6 is absolutely in play at the moment.
Yeah, I feel good about LA in 6. I think Phoenix can still, a game in LA, but I just think overall the talent level, and especially with the Chris Paul, I felt before the Chris Paul injury that, and I told you, LeBron James has never lost a first round series, and so my heart was always with Phoenix. That would be awesome. I think they're an up and coming team, and I think they're really good. Obviously they're number 2 team in the West. But with that said, my brain just says LeBron James doesn't lose in the first round.
It makes sense. I definitely, I think that's our 2 contrasts there. I went with my heart a little bit more so, as to you went on with the history side of it and the stats. I am concerned about Chris Paul, of course. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. And even if they need to give him the rest tomorrow and then bring him back, whatever's going to work to keep him involved in the long stretch of this. Because I do think they need him if they advance past LA. They're going to need Chris Paul in there to be effective and actually make a run deep.
Yeah, I agree with you. while we're in talking about LA, should we talk about the Clippers, who right now are sitting in the same boat the Heat are, except they play both their games at home.
What is going on with the Clips? Other than Luca going off again and uh,
Yeah, and
triple double in game 2.
as a Heat fan, it makes me excited because you know who can opt out of their contract this year? Kawhi Leonard, who just scored 41 points and lost.
The fact that they lose both games at home to open up the series, and let's be honest, kind of the air over the Clippers playoffs teams over the past few years now. Not a great situation to be in.
Yeah, and it. My prediction was Clippers in 6, so I'm gonna need them to win 4 in a row. But that Dallas, I was thinking before we even started recording, but like just a couple days ago, this might be one of the most exciting NBA playoffs in a long time. Like, there's so many intriguing matchups. I don't know if you have the Utah Memphis score right now, but Memphis could upset Utah.
Utah has pulled ahead. They're going to end up winning.
All right, so that series is going to be tied 1-1, and who knows? Maybe it's in 5. That was actually my prediction, was Utah in 5. But the Heat and Bucks, who knows? Maybe the Bucks do sweep the Heat, but it was anticipated to be a really good matchup, and if Shaq already says the Heat are going to even it up, so I don't know if that bodes well for the Heat. But
hey, as long as it's not Charles Barkley calling it for you, I think you may be okay.
Well, Charles Barkley guaranteed the Bucks are going to sweep the Heat.
There you go. So maybe that's working in your favor a little bit.
But I realistically thought in the East that I could see 4 teams coming out realistically and seeing them realistically being able to win the East. The Heat, the Bucks, the Nets, which all 3 of those are on the same side of the bracket, so like that's a gauntlet for whoever gets out of that. And then the Sixers.
Yeah.
In the West, I felt like Utah could come out. I felt like Phoenix could come out. I felt like
LA Lakers, whoever wins
between Lakers and
yeah.
Clippers and Dallas all could come out. I really don't think the Blazers could. Did I include Denver in my 5?
No,
no, I think I did because or no, I didn't. So and then Denver. That's 6 teams in the West that I think can win the title. The only 2 teams in the West I don't really think have a shot would be the Grizzlies and the Blazers.
I will say as well. I think the gap between the top is definitely much smaller than it from the top quality, or the expected top teams is much smaller than it has been in recent years.
And that excites me.
And it excites you too because of the disparity. You don't want to see guys like LeBron get hurt for that stretch and the injury problems the Lakers have had this regular season. But it definitely has created a shakeup because they come in, have to play through the play-in process. Now are playing the number 2 seed in Phoenix, and you may have a pretty big upset here when you look at the seeded numbers.
Yeah, and I just was thinking that this might be the best playoffs that we've had in a very, very long time. Where you're like, man, I don't know who's gonna win. I mean,
yeah.
Brooklyn's probably gonna, if we're just being honest. But other than that, like, I enjoyed, the super team thing, kind of crazy. But what it's caused is guys now know they need like 2 or 3. But the growth of the game, globally, but just in general, the youth that's coming in, and then you have LeBron, who's 36, that's still playing at a high level, like he's been able to extend his career. And then I think KD's going to age well just because his game is a jump shoot. He's not banging. And the evolution of the game of basketball, it's less beating each other up and more finesse. So it's created so much talent that teams are able to acquire more talent and be able to compete, which is really nice to see. And it's so.
I wanted to touch on the Mavs one more
Yeah, go
point
for it. I was
on
gonna go through every matchup as well before we got
yeah,
started.
absolutely. But if you look at the Mavs records, I wish I had an exact stat line in front of me. Look at the record between teams that are like in the playoffs right now, like throughout the regular season, and then look at the record against teams who did not make the playoffs. And the disparity is that the Mavs seem to all season long, consistently in the regular season, lose the games they were supposed to win and win the games they were supposed to lose. Almost flipped.
Well,
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind as they obviously are up 2-0 on the Clippers, and the series goes back to Dallas.
well, the reason, and this is the last thing I'll make about the overall playoffs, and we'll go back into because I'm sorry that we digressed there, Zane and listeners. But when you have the best player in a series, you always have a chance. And Luka's special. And when I say the best player in a series, that doesn't always mean like, you know, right now, I don't know if Luka is a better player than Kawhi, but right now, this series, Luka has been the best player this series. If you have the best player in a series, you always have a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still lose. I mean, LeBron James was always the best player in all those finals against Golden State. Like, he never had a shot. But you have at least a puncher's chance when you have the best player. And so what I'm saying is, if you're a Dallas fan, I'm saying there's a chance. So there's a chance.
Absolutely more so than a chance right now with once again being up 2-0. So.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying just to advance. I mean to win the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's true too.
Yeah, still not a great chance, but it's there. But do you want to stay in the West or move?
Yeah, why not? Just run through it.
Yeah, last one in the West, Denver Blazers. This one's probably going to be a good one. Denver in 6. That's my prediction. And I still feel pretty good about it. I think Denver is still, even without Jamal Murray, my thing about the Pacers, they don't play defense. And, Jokic is a joke. Like, he's literally like a video game. Like, he puts up video game numbers. And you're not going to play defense against him. He's going to kill you. So,
yeah.
That was my thought process going in. It's 1-1 right now.
I believe I also took Denver. And mainly under that mainly under the impression of just Jokic. That was really my only reasoning. Was Dame time versus Jokic, and I went with the Joker, thinking that Denver was a little bit stronger than Portland, a little bit more consistent through the year too.
Yeah, I agree. And Denver did just come out of the Western Conference Finals. Like, they're a good team. Like, so, and I think they have a chance to be good going forward into the future as well. They're still a pretty young team. Denver is a team to be excited about, and Denver's a team talking about the global expansion. Nikola Jokic from Serbia. Because the game's grown so much globally, it's given us more global stars, and that just gives us more of a talent pool, and it's making these games so much better. I'm really excited where the NBA is going. I think it's gonna be able to compete with the NFL soon. But moving to the East, probably my least favorite matchup out of like an entertainment wise, Philadelphia and the Wizards. And Russell Westbrook just got hurt today, and I predicted a sweep for Philadelphia. I think they might get it.
I think they also might get it. I think I said Philadelphia in 5. The Wizards would maybe snag 1. Is that right?
I can pull it up right now. You have in 5. Yep.
Yeah, in 5. So, You're right. And now with Russell Westbrook walking off the court tonight, and sidebar.
Getting
Now
popped.
that now that we've all beat COVID, now that the war against COVID has been over, fans have been making their statement with being back in stadiums and not knowing how to act, being around other people, including just epic fights at baseball games, including one I saw tonight of a Dodgers fan at an Astros game, going at it, but also a fan as Westbrook is walking to the tunnel, dumping a bucket of popcorn on Westbrook in Philadelphia. So, and Westbrook losing his mind, and LeBron James taking it to Twitter about how we can protect players.
Yeah.
Not to have too much of a sidebar, it's just the fans have been making their impact known with being back in the stands across multiple sports at this point.
And who would have figured Philly fans being rowdy?
No.
I think the next team I think we're going to talk about is the Nets, who looked good didn't look too good in game one. It looked like Boston maybe could compete a little, and then just game two just tore the doors off, like ripped the doors off. So do you think that Boston can steal a game? I had the Nets in 5. I thought Jason Tatum could go for 50 one night and get them a win, but I don't even know if that's even possible now.
I don't know if they can either. They may be demoralized after that loss. I mean, they may just be demoralized from it.
I really hope Jason Tatum can just go off for like 60 or something one game. Get me one. Because so far, all my predictions are still in play.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously need a lot of help. I need help from some teams. But all my predictions are still in play. So, if Jason Tatum could give me a game, that'd be nice. And then the last one, I had Knicks in 5. I just thought Knicks' defense was so much better. But Julius Randle, he is showing that he has not been in the playoffs before, like the main guy.
I had Knicks in 6, just because Atlanta has been a little bit of a surprise through the regular season. I think have overperformed from what we maybe thought they were going into it. So I thought they would put up a fight and definitely take a couple games. I think that's absolutely still in play as well. Knicks in 6.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think my Knicks in 5 could sort. I mean, I think New York could win the next 3 in a row, just the way they play defense, and I just don't think Atlanta is that good, And it's honestly a disservice that the Heat are in the situation that they're in. They should be playing Atlanta right now and sweeping them and preparing to play Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there. They're playing the Bucks in round 1. But overall, what are you thinking? Who do you think's coming out? Remember earlier I said Clippers to win it all, and we talked about this early on. Not feeling good about that, but I think Nets might be the best just because they have the 3 they have a chance to have the 3 best guys on the floor.
Yeah,
You're serious.
And out of those 3, at least one having the best guy for each series, that whoever they're playing.
I mean, KD healthy might be the best player in the world right now.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to add to Knicks Hawks too. Knicks Hawks right now the line on that Atlanta -4 as it shifts.
Back home, and they're pretty even. And they usually say for basketball and football, you usually get 3 points for being home. So, like, if you're picked, -1 at home, you're really picked to lose by 2.
Yeah. So that one's interesting a little bit. If you are confident about that Knicks making it a 4-1 series, there may be some value there for you at Knicks +4 or Knicks money line at +140. And that game is on that's on Friday night.
That the Knicks won their first playoff game since 2013 tonight.
Yeah.
And they celebrated like they had won the title. So that makes me nervous.
Yeah, also true. Coming off of that type of momentum, big game atmosphere, and then
You know who they beat in 2013? Their one game they won that year in the playoffs? They beat the Miami Heat in game 1.
Of course they did.
Yeah. You know what they did? They set off confetti. Pow, pow, pow. Just like exploded all over Madison Square Garden. Blue and orange everywhere. Then proceeded to lose 4 straight.
So you're bringing back that into reminiscent.
Well, I just meant like you shouldn't celebrate just winning a playoff game because I feel, in a way, not like act like you've been there before because, I mean, it is exciting. You won a playoff game. But job's not done. You know what I mean?
I mean, look how hype the city has been and the fans have been just even getting into the playoffs.
Exactly.
Like through that process. So you kind of had to expect it after they would get their first playoff win when that came, that they would really go all out for it. But now that you bring that into the picture, my value play of plus 140 there on the road in Atlanta makes me feel not as confident of placing that pick.
I just get weary of teams that I mean, again, it sounds terrible because like you should be able to be excited, but like act like you've been there before. You know what I mean? It is kind of true. So we will see. Overall, like I said, good playoffs, and I think we got one more championship game this weekend. That's the culmination of a playoff. The biggest soccer match in the world for a club, a non-World Cup years, the biggest
match.
Champions League final. And it's an all-English final, Chelsea versus Manchester City. What are your early thoughts, Zane?
Well, for our listeners, obviously, that followed our talk through talking about analyze and remember first leg, second leg, kind of how to bet those, you don't have to worry about that in here. They throw that junk out the window, and it's just a single game for the trophy. I got the lines pulled up right now as it sits. Man City leading favorite by a large margin to win at minus 115 there. Chelsea plus 350. So, I mean, how I feel about it, Chelsea.
There's a line for a draw after 90.
There is a line for that, plus 240 for that, a draw after 90. Actually, excuse me. I have to double check that. That line actually may be for
after 120,
including extra time. So I may need to double check that. But right now it says plus 240 labeled as a tie.
There should be like how you do the hockey bets? 60.
Yeah.
There should be a line, I'm almost certain, for 90 minutes. The same way.
Yeah. To lift the cup is what it's called. So that's essentially just your straight money line, even if it goes to penalties. Plus 175 for Chelsea, minus 250 for Man City. Not finding the.
It may be, yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think that Chelsea could actually give Man City some fits, and I think it's just a stylistic thing. Pep Guardiola likes to play through the middle. It's tiki taka, pass. He's not really trying to get into the flanks. He's not really trying to make these long diagonal runs. He just wants everything short and crisp. Keep the ball. And Chelsea, they're just so compact. They haven't been playing the best right now, but in their last 2 matches against Man City, they've won.
I was going to make that point next. Is that's in the back of my head, and I actually took Chelsea when they played Man City. I think either in a draw no bet or double chance because it was pretty good value, and that was on May 8th. So just a few weeks ago, Chelsea wins 2-1. But that should have been a draw if it wasn't for a missed penalty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it could have been a draw, and it could have been a win for Man City. There was a missed penalty. They really shouldn't have gave up that penalty, but they also missed a toe poke not right before Chelsea went down and then scored their late winner.
Yeah,
But
so they had their chances. They absolutely had their chances created.
yeah, but like I said, the way that Chelsea plays, it's inducive to winning against like that style. So they just strictly of how they line up, they got a chance. Now, do I really think that they're going to win? Probably not. I am leaning Man City right now, but it's a one-off game. Anything can happen. We just saw that today with Manchester United versus Villarreal.
And like you said, there may be, with how disciplined that Chelsea is under Tuchel that we've seen, there may be some real value on the draw line there for this game to potentially go to penalties because of the history of Chelsea Man City. Chelsea winning the last two. Really, the last one, honestly, watching that match, really thought that should have been a draw more so than, I mean, Man City absolutely had their chance for the win as well with the missed opportunities. But I thought that one easily should have been a draw, and I think Chelsea kind of got away with one on that one that they needed for final standings and their push to crack Champions League position in the EPL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may be something even too where the line is so far spread that if you're confident this game will be settled before penalties, I mean, you could hedge your bet too, and maybe a cheap way to do it. But because the line is so far out there, where plus 350 for Chelsea and minus 150,
you could probably. I don't know
Man
what the
City.
numbers would be off the top of my head, but you could put like, let's just use $5 and $10. You could put probably $10 on Manchester City to win. How much would that give you a payout?
It's going to pay out $8.70, and then you throw $5
On Chelsea,
on Chelsea to win.
$10 and something, so you'd be at the very
15
minimum.
Actually, if you put $5 on Chelsea, it's plus 350 line. That's gonna be $17.50 in yeah, so winning. So you easily have a situation here where if you jump on this early enough before the line moves, which I don't even know if it moves too much, you could actually be
as long as it doesn't end 0-0, right? You could win around $20, like pay out $20 and only invest 15 total.
Yeah. So I mean, you can really hedge that if you want to. It would be in the green. just a little strategy to think about when you're looking at that game. And I mean, right now that line is so. I mean, the gap is so large there that it's enticing to go ahead and place one now, even a few days before the match.
Yeah, and this match is going to be big, and it's especially going to be big in this country because we can't talk about Chelsea with obviously not talking about Christian Pulisic. Zach Steffen is also on Manchester City. He is the backup goalkeeper. Don't want to wish injury on anybody, so chances are he's definitely not going to play. But it's still cool to be the backup keeper on arguably the best team in Europe.
And by backup keeper too, he played in some of the other tourneys too.
Yeah, and he won,
and he's had some wins with them.
He would start, for me, honestly, he would start for a lot of teams in Europe. He's probably not a number one on a Champions League side. However, like for this Chelsea team, I think he's as good as like Edouard Mendy, probably. But I think Chelsea probably would want, if you ask them truly, if they could find a world-class keeper, because I think they thought that's what Kepa was going to be, and he turned out not to be. But they would want another keeper as well. But he could start for a lot of teams in Europe. I don't know if he's the best. He's obviously. I think there's been plenty of American goalkeepers who are better than him. To be completely honest, like I would put Tim Howard over him. So with
Casey
that
Keller, way back in the day.
exactly. So with that said, like the United States is known for, if not
Goalkeeping talent. That is the one. That is the one strong side that we've had through the years is goalkeeping.
exactly. And so I don't want to take anything away from Zach Steffen, but because he is a good player, but the focus needs to be on Christian Pulisic. I've seen a lot of stuff like, oh, Americans guaranteed a trophy, which we will talk about Americans winning trophies, but it's Christian Pulisic we're going to talk about. Do you think he's going to start? It's been kind of in and out of the lineup. I think this is a good game for him to start.
I think he will start as well, because of his impact that he's had through the tournament, even in limited minutes too, in some of these legs.
I saw so. Since Thomas Tuchel's taken over, so in the knockout stages, 8 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Doesn't sound, you're like, that's 4 goal contributions. That's what? A goal contribution every 180 minutes? Well, no. Christian Pulisic hasn't started every game. He's also been subbed off games. He's only played like 400 and I think it's basically 450 minutes. So he's literally producing a goal or an assist, a goal contribution every 100 minutes, which you'd like it to be closer to 90 to be in a perfect world, but
yeah,
that's really good though still.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I do think he starts. My only fear is if this game goes 0-0, that he's going to be subbed off, which means that he will not be a participant if it goes to PKs at taking them. However, if it's anything like his Jamaica one that he took when they played Jamaica, it might be better for Chelsea and not to take the PK.
That's also true. I forgot about that one.
But I will say, with this game, if he comes off the bench, he could have a huge impact. Say this game, because you got to think of it a little differently. As long as Chelsea doesn't concede, if it's tied going into the 90th minute, it's going to go to 120. So if you could save Christian Pulisic from 60 to 120, if that's, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're getting 60 minutes of fresh Christian Pulisic against maybe some tired legs, and that could be advantageous. But then there's that chance of that not having enough going forward in the first 45 minutes. So it's interesting to think about. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think he does start. Just first counterattacking ability.
I'd like to pose this question as well to you in regards to just analysis in the lead up to the game. Is there any weight or impact on the fact that Man City has been wrapped up with their EPL title run for quite some time, while Chelsea was still having to really fight to crack top 4 and make sure they secured their spot in the top 4 to secure Champions League qualification next year, or maybe not as much weight to that as you think?
So I actually do follow Chelsea a lot just because of Christian Pulisic. I mean, Manchester United is my team, and obviously, I would love for Chelsea to come second every year behind Manchester United and Christian Pulisic have a good season. Just, good for American soccer. So I do pay attention a lot. Even though they were in that race, they still rotated kind of a little bit, especially in the front 3 against Arsenal and stuff. And they did really finish the season poorly. They lost 3 of their last 4.
Yep. FA Cup
loss. The one game that they really, really, really needed, they played really well, and it was against Leicester in the Premier League. And I think that's the best squad that they have, that they put out there. And the front three was Pulisic, Werner, and Mount. I think they were really good in there. And then since then, I think they just were trying to get top four. And they needed to win Saturday. And I think they put a good – that's the same squad that they put out with Leicester, with Aston Villa. I think, a little unlucky. They gave up the PK. And then the one shot was a weird shot. And then their goalkeeper got injured. I'm not trying to make excuses. But with that said, I don't know if they necessarily – have been going all out in the Premier League either. I think they've been trying to play it smart, knowing about the Champions League final. Obviously, they wanted to finish top four, and that's why the Aston Villa lineup, like I said, was the same lineup as they had against Leicester.
And they definitely had to be disappointed with the FA Cup result, too, against Leicester as well. So.
Yes, but they didn't start he didn't start his best players then, and Kepa was the goalkeeper.
Right.
Again, I think they wanted to win the FA Cup. Obviously, they want to win the FA Cup.
Well, yeah, I mean, they also were in the final the year before as well and lost in the final too.
Exactly. But as a Manchester United fan, who's we're not up there where we used to be, but I'm just going to put it out here, and this is going to sting because I know you're an Arsenal fan. You guys like to hang your hat on the FA Cup. Real clubs don't give a shit about the FA Cup. Like they're worried about finishing top four to get the Champions League. So you could literally tell by the way the squads were. Leicester put out their best win for the FA Cup. Chelsea put out let's try to win it, but
let's lean on the side of caution for the bigger picture.
Then flipped it. Then the Premier League was Chelsea put out their best lineup, and Leicester kind of who's not dead leg from this past weekend? And what I'm saying is yes, you want to win the FA Cup, and that's how Chelsea was their bread and butter, And the FA Cup's good to build on. I think Arsenal should have built on that last year. I think it's good to build on. Hey, look, we're winning our domestic cup. We can compete. Try to finish top four in your league. Get your signings, compete in Champions League, and then grow, But I think Chelsea's end goal is they're in another level now. I think their concentration is Champions League. So they were more worried about finishing top four, not winning the FA Cup.
And I think that's the case. It's a case-by-case basis once you get to that point for each club.
Exactly. Leicester had never won the FA Cup. That was big for them. They had won the Premier League. They finally they've done so many firsts, and where they came from to where they are now, they're trying to be the next Tottenham. Tottenham wasn't anything, and then now Tottenham's a big six club.
Yeah,
that's what Leicester's working their way up to. So for them, winning the FA Cup, you saw it, the owner was down there, they're all crying and stuff. Chelsea, they would have loved it and they'd have been happy, but Roman Abramovich isn't coming down there and crying with his players about winning the FA Cup. He's we got a Champions League fund. And also if Chelsea had been knocked out by Real Madrid, their mindset in that FA Cup may have been something completely different. So
Right.
Yeah, but speaking of trophies, the U.S. men's national team has brought home a lot of trophies over Europe. Serginho Dest, they won Copa del Rey. Was that what they won?
Yes.
Or was it the Spanish Super Cup? It was one of the two.
I think it was Copa.
Yeah, I think it was Copa. And then Weston McKennie won the Italian Super Cup and their, it's like the FA Cup. I don't know. The Italian Cup, whatever it is. Tim Weah, who we talked about a little bit earlier about the PSG. He won the French Ligue 1, the Uber Eats Ligue 1. That's the official name, by the way, guys. Uber paid a lot of money for that. Uber Eats Ligue 1.
Title sponsor.
And then Christian Pulisic or Zach Steffen has a chance to win the Champions League final. Oh, and Gio Reyna won the DFK. It's a bunch of letters. Polka, the German Cup
With Dortmund.
with Dortmund. Yep, and he played a lot.
Yeah.
Played a vital role and scored some goals in that tournament, and that's exciting because he's 18 years old.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure did.
However, a lot of trophies. Oh, Brendan Harrison, just off the top of my head, Brendan Harrison won the double in with RB Salzburg in Austria, and who was coached by Jesse March, an American who's now moving to RB Leipzig, who just finished second in Bundesliga with Tyler Adams. Like, this is the golden age of U.S. men's national team. And we have a friendly coming up this Sunday, which rolls into our Nations League, which is a little tournament that was started a couple years ago, but because of COVID, we never made it to the finals. So we're making it up this summer from the semifinals. Excuse me. And U.S. plays Honduras, and the winner of that plays the winner between, I think, Mexico and Canada? Or is it? No, Mexico and Costa Rica, I think.
Costa Rica, yeah.
And I think Canada. But, so it should be very interesting. But they released the roster, and we were talking about that a little bit. And a lot of the names that I just mentioned that have won trophies are part of that. So, Zane, I said the golden age of American soccer. Is this the golden age of American soccer?
I will not define it as that yet.
Because we haven't won anything yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a bit premature to throw that label. The talent is there. The young talent is there.
Can I rephrase the question then?
The depth is coming along nicely, I think.
I think it's fair if you pick the right squad.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about here in just a second. But, yeah. Can I reword the question, though?
Yeah, if you want to rephrase that.
Yeah. Is this the most talented U.S. squad ever? Like, just based on talent alone, not achieving anything. Because, like, the World Cup in 2004. Yep. With Landon Donovan, the best young player.
Out in that was hosted in Korea.
Yep, and we made it to the final 8.
Yeah.
Obviously, that team achieved probably the most. Is this the most talented team with players playing in Barcelona, Juventus, Chelsea, RB Leipzig, Dortmund?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hands down. I think top to bottom, most talent, and the best talent pool to choose from right now for just American soccer history as a whole, and that just goes to show the progress of the sport in our country, and we have a short history with it. Really, I mean, when it comes down to it, we really do have a short history in this sport. So yeah, it shows growth, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And so just looking at the Nations League roster, which, like we were talking before, there's 3 MLS players that have been selected for the Nations League. Those are Jackson Ewell from the San Jose Quake, Kellen Acosta from the Colorado Rapids, and Sebastian Lletget from the LA Galaxy. I told you before this, the only person that I'd bring on, and it's only really for a leadership role, and he scores timely goals, is Sebastian Lletget. I don't think Kellen Acosta or Jackson Ewell should be anywhere near a competitive national team tournament roster, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously being a fan and follower of LA Galaxy closely, I watched Lletget develop in his matches, and I think out of the 3, he is, and it's definitely trying to be as bipartisan. Gosh, I can't even talk. It's getting late. By just impartial to the decision of that, and I think Lletget though does show the most promise, and he has obviously shown that in his time as wearing the national team shield as well.
I will say he does score. I've noticed He does score a lot of goals, but the
Does score.
goals come against lower competition. But he will be surrounded by players that are so much better, and I think he's more of an impact sub and there for training. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't see him being as a primary like starter by any means.
But Kellen Acosta, I'm telling you, he's going to start Sunday, and it's gonna come down. I think we're gonna run a 4. I'm just calling it right now. Instead of running probably a 3-5-2, which would give us more defensive stability, and maybe give us, just for what we have right now, the best chance of winning. We're gonna run the 4-3-3, which that's the system that Greg Berhalter wants to run. So might as well drill it into him and play it until. But the two people who are going to play that single pivot 6, I'm calling it right now, are Kellen Acosta and Jack Steele. When Yunus Musa can play it, Tyler Adams can play it. Tyler Adams is coming off an injury, and I think that's obviously why they got called up. He might not play. But I'm telling you, Sunday, Kellen Acosta is starting there. I'm calling it right now. He's starting in a single pivot 6, but Yunus Musa can do it, Weston McKennie can do it, and Tyler Adams can do it. All three of them can do it. There's no need for Kellen Acosta and Jack Steele. It actually kind of makes my blood boil a little bit that they're on the wrong. And like, I have no problem. People think it's like, oh, you just hate on the MLS. You don't think that just because they're not playing. No. Zach Steffen literally went to Europe. It didn't work out. He had to come back and play for the Philadelphia Union. And then Man City's like, oh, he is a good goalkeeper. And then they brought him back to Europe. He played in the MLS. Technically, Christian Pulisic came up through like an MLS academy thing, and then he did like a Nike tournament. Dortmund noticed him. Then he, got his passport and went there. Gio Reyna is literally from the Man City farm system, NYC FC. Weston McKennie, FC Dallas. I don't think it's a stain to not have an MLS player on the roster.
Yeah.
Because these guys came out of MLS development things. It shows that MLS can develop talent that's good enough to play for the biggest clubs in the world right now. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not insulting. I think it's more insulting to say that Kellen Acosta deserves to be there before Julian Green, who we just talked about, who just carried his team from Bundesliga 2 into the Bundesliga and will be playing in the Bundesliga next year as a midfielder. He changed positions from a striker to a midfielder in the middle of his career and completely turned his career around. De La Torre, he plays in, I think it's the Belgian league, but he was playing in Portugal.
Yeah.
No, never mind. I'm switching him and Reggie Cannon. But I think it is the Belgian league. There's just so many national team players. But, like, he changed from a winger to a 6, like a defensive midfielder, and he's flourishing. He can play that position, and he's playing in a higher league level, which means he's seeing higher competition, and that's what we need to win these tournaments. Like, it's cool, like you just said. I shouldn't have called it the golden age. You're completely right. This is the most talented U.S. talent pool that we've ever had, and we're going to squander winning trophies to build, the legacy of this. Like, that's kind of also part of it. It's like, how many trophies can we win? And, like, here's a tournament this summer, and we're dropping dudes that are playing at higher levels in Europe for dudes that are playing in MLS. And I'm sorry, and we put him in different. Kellen Acosta, you watch the MLS, he plays an 8 for the Colorado Rapids, not a 6. So
no, does not play a 6.
Greg Berhalter likes his MLS guys. He does like them.
Well, I mean, that's also Greg's roots too.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with the MLS. I want to win some trophies, man, and I just see the talent pool. And, like, Kellen Acosta plays good against lower competition, so, like, he might look good against Honduras. But we're going to be playing Mexico in the championship. I want the best 11. I hope if we meet Mexico in the championship. So we'll have a warm-up game against the Swiss team. Then we play Honduras, and I think we have another just friendly It's just a warm up for the final. If we can beat Honduras, we should not lose to Honduras.
That should be a blowout, actually, against Honduras. It shouldn't be competitive.
It shouldn't be. And then we'll be playing Mexico in the final.
Likely, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to win. They're going to be putting out a good squad. I want to win. I want to win trophies. The squad needs to bring trophies. They need to put some feathers in their cap.
You play to win the game.
Exactly. But it is an exciting time to be a U.S. soccer fan, and maybe it's just more of I just doubt. I had too much doubt for Greg Berhalter, and maybe I shouldn't have. But there was one last report, and the last thing we'll talk about U.S. soccer, and we'll sign off and get out of here. When the job came open, it came open at the same time as the Mexican job, because remember Bruce Arena, and then I can't remember who the Mexican coach was at the time. And this is when Atlanta is dominating the MLS.
Yeah.
Tata Martino is now the coach of Mexico. He wanted the U.S. job.
Oh, that coach from Mexico, that was Herrera, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you are right. But they had Tata, who's, coached at Barcelona, won MLS, had the best, Atlanta squad, had Josef Martinez breaking, goal scoring records. They play an exciting style of football. Also, I heard some good points on both sides on this, and I'll weigh the pros and cons for you, and you tell me what you think. But Tata Martino apparently wasn't even contacted to interview for the job. I know he doesn't speak English, but it doesn't matter if he's one of the best coaches in the world, and he wants the job. He loved living in Atlanta. He loved America, living here, wanted to coach here. But what I did, this is true. This is even when he was in Barcelona for 2 years. He's in Atlanta for 3 years. What he does is he takes a squad and gets the most out of them, and then he kind of wears his welcome and moves on next. So I did see a good, argument was Greg Berhalter might have been the better development choice.
Long-term system type of approach.
Yeah, it's going to develop a system that they're going to play, and then hopefully, with the talent, he can get his system going and choo-choo-choo-choo. Whereas, Tata Martino is, win now kind of upbringing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you add that to the fact that at the time, Atlanta United, for those who may not know, but
they were an expansion team.
Brand new team, expansion team, first year. He takes them into the playoffs, which is pretty much unheard of in your first year, and then loses in penalties, if I'm not mistaken.
It was either New York Red Bull.
Yeah, it was either extra time or penalties, so could have advanced in the playoffs and got a playoff win his first year. Barely gets edged out. Second year, they win the cup as an expansion team.
And then he's off to Mexico, where he has won, I think, a gold cup so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I personally, because I am an Atlanta United fan, I think you are slightly as well.
I shifted for sure. Growing up, LA Galaxy, and now that being an Atlanta sports fan for Braves, Falcons, playing in the same house as the Falcons do and sharing Mercedes-Benz. I definitely have watched Atlanta and own some Atlanta jerseys and scarves too. So they're my team in the East for sure.
So I think we should at least call it, because I almost feel especially now that report's out there, what if he gets fired from Mexico and Greg Berhalter isn't the guy, but we now have the squad, and we're getting ready to go to a World Cup, and it's hey, don't we want to win now kind of thing? If it doesn't work out, we can fire this guy in a couple of years and bring in another guy. You know what I mean? My dream hire is Jurgen Klopp, obviously. Yeah, he wins another Champions League, Premier League for Liverpool. Now that Hansi Flick's been now the German coach, hopefully he's there for a while, and Jurgen Klopp's just let's go to the USA. That's my dream U.S.
situation.
Yeah, the way he plays too. I think he's super analytical, and it's all about Gega pressing and efficient passing. That's why I like. We're getting ready to get in the weeds. I'll explain to you after the podcast because I don't think the listeners want to. But it is interesting. It's an interesting time to be an American soccer fan. Like we said, this Saturday, Champions League final, another American's gonna get. There will be an American with a Champions League medal around their neck coming into this camp, which is nice. Hopefully that breeds success around the national team. Like, hey, look at this, the biggest competition there is in Europe. I was a part of this, and there's going to be that is guaranteed to happen.
Yeah, it's exciting. Of course, I will say I lean on the side of I would like to see more so Pulisic grab that.
That would win probably more if he probably got an assist or a goal or something.
Yeah.
Like instead of Zach Steffen just walking in and being like, I warmed up Ederson before the game.
And getting the pictures with the lifting the cup afterwards. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend leading into the sports. I'll leave you with a NASCAR pick. Might as well throw one out there for Coke 600. Keep an eye on Kyle Larson. I don't have the odds in front of me. Dude has finished second place in 3 consecutive races. They're running really solid. Coke 600 may be an opportunity for him to break through and maybe an outright winner play there, or at least a top 5 play. Kyle Larson.
Yep, that's because Zane has inside sources and Kyle Larson has a tricky engine thing going on. So
I have 0 inside sources other than just watching and following the sport.
Throw it out there. They're going to start like checking out Kyle Larson's car and stuff. They're like, we're pretty sure.
I don't think we get that much attention on this thing.
You got to talk big.
Oh, yeah, always.
Keep it into fruition.
Don't miss out on opportunities to make money with us. Follow us at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Payday Parlays. Follow our personal pages, like Matt said earlier. I mean, you didn't see it. We cashed out tonight on our live bet with Minnesota Wild, taking it in the third period against taking it to the Knights. So it's good to be back and
follow us at Payday Parlays. Zane tweeted that from his personal account. But we made sure
the page.
It was retweeted from at Payday Parlays. But make sure you follow us as well at ZaneG_10 and at MattHart17 with the M and the H capital. And we tweet out our picks. We also tweet out some funny gifts, especially when I picked the Heat to lock it up, and they're down by 26 after one quarter. But overall, I think we've been green for the most part this year, and most of our picks are pretty spot on.
Yeah, when we take the time to sit down and do a little homework on it, we usually do pretty well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just go off a gut. Sometimes I just look at something and I'm like, I like this one. Let's just throw it out there.
And sometimes you got to think, guys, sometimes picks are just good value picks. That if you see a plus money line pick, chances are me and Zane just like the value. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's a lot that the team's going to win.
You'll see that from our MLS picks that we've put out there. A lot of times that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I'm now that European soccer is over and my soccer is going to be over after this weekend, I'm really going to get into the MLS this summer. Because I've just been looking at it. There is money to be made on the MLS because it's literally all 3 are plus money lines. Either team or the draw. That's an automatic 33% chance for you guys that aren't the best at math. An automatic 33% chance of winning some plus money line money.
And here's the thing, if you're getting plus money on both teams, you can always hedge your bet and just end up a little bit in the green after it's all said and done.
Exactly. Just make sure you add it up right and hopefully no draws.
Yeah.
But I think that tonight was a good episode. We covered a lot. We covered the NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Champions League, and you gave us a NASCAR pick. What else do you need in life?
Early season baseball maybe, but it's early season baseball. We can hold on that for a while.
The doldrums of summer. Well, I'm Matt, and this is Zane. Signing off.